Welcome to the Steve Stine Guitar Podcast, brought to you by GuitarZoom.com. If you want to improve your guitar playing, keep listening. If you want to improve even faster, go to GuitarZoom.com, where you'll find all of Steve's premium courses, masterclasses, and memberships that'll help you quickly and easily improve your playing. Now here's your host, Steve Stine.
So the next thing I want to talk to you about is called string control. String control, okay? Understanding that when you strum something that is not part of the chord, it tends to get a little bit ugly or noisy, okay? Now that can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. We're going to talk about the bad part of it right now. So when I'm making this G chord, I can strum everybody. And I like the freedom of being able to move my arm and just kind of bash those strings, making this rhythm. Okay? So when I move to this C add 9, when I move down to C add 9 like this, what I'm going to do is take the fingernail part, the tip of my finger, and I'm going to lightly touch the 6th string, which now kills that 6th string. So when I'm strumming, I'm not trying to hit the 6th string, but if I do accidentally hit the 6th string, you're not going to hear it. See right there, I'm actually strumming the 6th string, but instead of getting this sound, which again, I'm not saying can be a bad thing. You might like that and want to use it somewhere, and that's awesome. But right now, my goal is to avoid the sound of the 6th string. So I deaden it out. Now there's a noise to it, but you're not going to hear that when I'm strumming the entire chord. And that still gives me the freedom to kind of beat the daylights out of my guitar as I'm strumming and get the kind of sound that I want. Now D on the other hand, I have to be a little more careful. I can't deaden out this 5th string. Okay? I can deaden out the 6th string with my thumb up here, but I can't really do much about the 5th string. Now, I've seen some people that have really long fingers that can deaden out both of these strings on the top. I cannot do that. My fingers are too short. So I just have to be careful not to strum the 5th string. Okay? Now, reality check. When you are strumming the guitar, you will hit too many strings sometimes. You will hit too few strings sometimes. And you'll hit the right amount sometimes. That's being a human being. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if you're Eric Clapton or Steve Vai or anybody in between. You're going to do that. You're going to hit too many strings sometimes, too few strings sometimes, and the right amount sometimes. Don't worry about it. There's a difference between hitting too few or too many sometimes and doing it all of the time. So when I'm strumming a D chord, if I'm really feeling it, I might hit the 5th string by accident. And it's not going to sound horrible. It'll sound fine. Even if I hit all 6 of them. It's a little bit uglier, right? And I don't want to do that on a regular basis because it's just too much. But there's a realistic element of guitar playing that I need you to always be thinking about, okay? And that is, we've got these lines. We've got these rules, right? We're supposed to do this. We make the chord this way. We strum these strings, all these sorts of things. But there's a realistic element that happens when you're playing guitar where things are organic and they're changing a little bit. That's why sometimes when you look at tablature, when you're learning how to play a song by tablature, tablature sometimes can be ridiculously difficult to play because whoever tabbed it out was being way too anal retentive about the way the artist played it. And I always use this as an example. If you had Jimi Hendrix in the studio, and he played Little Wing 10 times, and they recorded it 10 times, how many of those times would be exactly the same? And the answer, of course, you know the answer. The answer is none of them would be exactly the same. They'd all be a little different from each other.
If you're enjoying this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, go to GuitarZoom.com and consider becoming a premium member. There are 3 memberships to choose from. VIP, which gives you instant access to a library of short but powerful courses as well as new bite-sized lessons each month. There's also Play Songs that gives you step-by-step lessons so you can learn to play your favorite songs fast. And finally, there's Masterclass, university-level training on everything from soloing to music theory, from blues to home recording. For more info about these memberships and all the premium courses available to you, go to GuitarZoom.com. Now back to the podcast.
That's the element of realistic music making. Okay, so when we look at a song, now don't get me wrong, some songs have elements that we try and replicate to an exactness because the song requires it or we choose to have it that way. But there are many elements of guitar playing that are relative to naturalism or an organic element. So, and I don't want to go off on this forever. I just want you to understand when you're strumming, if you strum a D chord and you hit too many strings, don't go, oh my gosh, I can't do that. I'm a terrible player. We all do it. Every guitar player does it. So when I'm going to hit this D chord, what I'm thinking about in my head, I have basically 3 regions on my guitar. I have the thick strings, the middle strings, and the thin strings. That's what I got. That's how I think about it in my head. Thick strings, middle strings, and then thin strings. So when I'm playing a D chord, I'm directing my guitar pick towards the thin strings, knowing that it's okay to hit the middle strings. What I am trying to avoid are the thick strings. It doesn't mean I'm not going to hit them ever, but it means I'm trying to avoid those. So in my head, I'm directing my guitar pick towards the thin strings, which means I'm hitting the thin strings and some middle strings. On a C chord, I might be directing towards the middle strings, which means I'm going to hit some thin strings, I'm going to hit some thick strings, but my main goal is to hit the center. When I'm strumming a G chord, okay, I'm strumming the whole entire thing, but my emphasis certainly is going to be on the thick strings as well. That's where my beef is going to come from. Right? Now again, keeping in mind that I can, when I'm making the C chord, I can deaden out that 6th string with the tip of my ring finger, so it won't make sound, so I can get a little more aggressive on the thicker strings up here. And this is what I'm thinking about when I'm playing. Now, again, I've been doing this for so long that after a while, I don't really think about it much anymore. It's just happening by automation, which is what I want to happen to you as well in your playing. Okay, but this whole thing of like going and trying to be all careful and stuff like that, don't do that. Okay, you got to have some fun with your strum. You've got to allow that guitar pick to strike those strings and get through those. Okay, so there's some 5th string going on in there. I'm not trying to hit it, but if I accidentally hit it, I'm unapologetic about it. It's perfectly fine. I am deadening out the 6th string here with my thumb because I really don't want to hit that, and I'm not really strumming high enough to hit it anyway. Because again, I'm directing my strum towards the thin strings. If I would hit less than 4 strings on a D chord, right there, it's okay. Again, it's going to be creating another element that we're going to be talking about really soon anyway, which has to do with dynamics. But that's what I want you to think about. Okay, so you've got these chords. You've got these 10 chords that you're working on, and you're working on various techniques to develop those chords. And again, it could be any chord that you want. I don't care what chords you're studying. You could be way beyond these 10 chords, and you're studying other chords, and that's awesome. You're still going to want to focus on bouncing, on lifting and shifting, and being aware of any finger pivots that you might have in there. And then developing control of both the strings, deadening out the things that you don't want when possible, and directive strumming, which is trying to hit the thicker strings or the middle strings or the thinner strings, directing your guitar pick towards those elements and being unapologetic when you do hit too many or too few on occasion, because it's human. It happens. So think about that, and all of a sudden you're going to start finding that your guitar playing is going to sound more realistic when you play. I always use the word professional. Professional to me doesn't mean you're making money at guitar playing or something like that, or you're touring the world. Professional means when you play, people listen to it and they go, that's authentic, it's real. They don't go, oh, I hear he's practicing and he's getting better, or I hear she's getting better at her guitar playing. It's not that. It's that when you play, people just want to listen. That's professionalism to me, okay? And that professionalism comes from controlling the strings, being really confident with whatever chords it is that you're working on, and developing an ability to be able to hit the proper strings. Now, we're going to talk about strumming and all that stuff in the near future here as well. Next time on the Steve Stine Guitar Podcast, today what I want to do is show you how to play 3 really fun and fairly easy blues-style acoustic guitar licks. Now, don't worry about the tablature. You can download that for free just by clicking on the link, so don't worry about that. Let's go ahead and take a look at this first one I want to show you. And these all are going to be in the key of A, so you don't have to worry about transposing them or anything right now. We'll just put all 3 of them in the same key. So here's lick number 1. Hey, Steve Stine here from GuitarZoom.com, and thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, can I ask you a favor? Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Your feedback means more to me than you'll ever know. And be sure to check out my YouTube channels where you'll find over 1,000 videos to help you with your guitar playing. Thanks again for listening. Stay positive, keep playing, and keep having fun.
If you'd like some help with your guitar playing but you're not sure how to get started, go to GuitarZoom.com and look for the Help Me Choose survey. By answering a few simple questions, you'll get Steve's personal recommendation of the perfect course for you. All this and more is available for you at GuitarZoom.com.